Representation is the use of language to present an impression of ourselves, an event, company, or institution to the wider world. This can cause bias, which is when a form of prejudice in favour or against an idea, person, or group. It can be expressed through language and images. Implicit or obvious forms can be used. Linguist Norman Fairclough put forward the idea of synthetic personalization. Synthetic personalization is the artificial relationship between the producer and receiver of the text. The producer of the text uses artificial friendliness to reinforce their power. Advertisers, politicians, and charity campaigners will often target their audience in a familiar, intimate way to make them feel special. Fairclough suggests there are 3 stages to the process. Building relations through personalization. This is done by the use of personal pronouns, cultural references, informal lexical, grammatical, and graphology choices to create an informal and intimate register. Manipulation of members' resources. For example, cultural references are chosen to draw in the implied reader. Building the consumer into the ideal receiver. This is done by using ideological message conveyed through a picture or language in a text. Latinate words are used to raise the register of a text. The reader trusts the text producer's judgment due to them seeming intelligent due to Lex's choice. Brown and Levinson's 1987 face theory has now influenced English linguists to understand how writers or speakers are represented. Whether the writer or speaker challenges or protects the positive or negative depends on how they are portrayed as a writer by the audience. There are 2 types of faces, positive and negative. Our positive face reflects our desire to be accepted and liked by others. Our negative face reflects our wish to have freedom or independence from others. Brown and Levinson observe that generally people will cooperate in maintaining each other's face needs. However, there are instances where the reader or speaker intentionally or unintentionally uses language to challenge the reader's negative face. This can be shown through threatening of beliefs or expressions of disapproval. Therefore, challenges the reader as the writer rubs up against the audience's desire to be free and what they want to do. Overall, if the writer represents himself or herself as protecting the negative or positive face, it will be more likely that the reader cooperates with the writer. A speaker or writer can use convergence or divergence to represent themselves in different ways. Convergence is when a person's language changes to accommodate, conform, or become similar to another person's language. This can be upwards or downwards. Say, for example, a police officer who needs the cooperation of an inner-city youth. He might use more colloquialisms and less formal or Latinate words to appear less intimidating or antagonistic and more approachable, making the person being questioned more likely to help. This would be downwards convergence. If the same policeman was talking to his superintendent later on, he might converge his language upwards to represent himself as more competent. Likewise, divergence is when someone changes their language to distance themselves from another person. If an anti-royalist were to meet the Queen, they might make a point of diverging downwards by making their speech more provincial and informal to make a political statement. The Queen might respond to this by diverging upwards, making her language more upper class to show her disapproval and distance.